thank you for having us here in this house, which is the birthplace of the UK Corporate Governance Code and will be, as of tomorrow, the birthplace of the Sport Integrity Global Alliance as we move towards the creation of a fully independent, neutral, global, multi-stakeholder legal entity.
I very much appreciate the work you are doing. I also appreciate the chance to contribute to the process by saying a few words on behalf of athletics and my organization, European Athletics. I want to give my congratulations to SIGA for coming together in a time of need for all sport and for its good work in this fundamentally important field. It says a lot about the role of sport in the modern world and the challenges we face that top people like your ad interim council and supporters from so many sectors have put the time and effort you have so far, and starting with your General Assembly tomorrow, will continue to do in the future.
My view is that SEGA could play a role there, for example, as somebody which is independent and recognized as looking into rules and regulations, and most of all the implementation of rules and regulations.
There's a lot as to what is the role, what is the interplay between government and governance of sport.
Governments, I can tell you honestly, I've been a sports minister for a few years, and never give that to governments to run sport because it'd be a disaster. Don't put your Bill Clintons and don't put your Tony Blairs, much as I love Tony and all that, do not put them in running sport. Because at the end of the day, no bugger all about sport.
And I think if you want to regain trust and also devolve to best practices, that there is a lot more that could be done in terms of looking at peer-to-peer solutions and move away from politicians who have perhaps credibility issues themselves and move into those combinations of people who are stakeholders and understand, but at the same time have a critical distance to an association that they might be assessing. So the peer-to-peer elements of the standards that SIGA is setting out look pretty interesting and could well be expanded and developed into something meaningful, which is what we all want, I think.
It's complex. There are no simple solutions, despite what some of the panelists had mentioned. I believe if we keep it simple, we'll be in a very in a much better path. And I think harnessing the example and the message of athletes like those from Special Olympics offers a good solution.
It could be as simple or as complicated as following money. And money I define as players' rights. I define it as cash. I'll define it as human trafficking.
This year there was $4.79 billion spending worldwide on transfer fees.
I think the diversity of the people who came to speak, the diversity of the panels, the inclusiveness, hearing from different people from different sports organizations, and really the freedom to really discuss the issues and think about things in a concrete way.
And I think the problem comes from the very top, that organisations like the IOC and FIFA it's not actually in their interests to enforce those changes.
I think everyone appreciates there's still a lot of work to do in the three main areas. But given the breadth of the stakeholders in the room, I think there's a recognition that some of that work is starting to be done, and that SIGA can certainly help that process. I think there was a lot of interesting discussion about whether SIGA could evolve into, for example, a WADA for integrity and governance. Obviously that's a long way off yet, but I think that was a particularly interesting debate that will no doubt get raised again in the future.
And in that context, I would like to congratulate SIGA for what they're doing in bringing us all together, giving us that forum to work together. I think it's crucially important that we share intelligence, that we share what we find to be good practice, and that we move forward together on a common front.
So the Indian subcontinent will be betting on one cricket match every day, but their transactions on those days will sometimes be around $300 million on one game. So that gets you up to about 100 billion, and that's all unregulated.
We cannot talk about this without talking about education and prevention. It's like putting a bandage on a wooden leg, because, in fact, Prevention is really crucial.
The current system is almost laughable.
I know. I mean, it's very, very hard. There's sums of money involved. We saw at the Australian Open, Australia's best tennis player, for whatever reason, best known to himself, stopped trying. Now, was there a financial element to that? I suspect not, because he's always like that. His head's in a funny place. He's always like that. But yeah.
I think there's a powerful lesson to be learned from e-sportsmen and women who are very ready to see dismissed once and for all, forever, a player who cheats. And I don't think we always get that in many other traditional sports, where there's often some sympathy even expressed for those who trod on the wrong side of the line. Would be one of my thoughts. Sorry, we've got just time for a couple more hands going
Michael
up. We'll get
Hirschman,
through those.
ICSS. Look, I don't think there's a lack of fan outrage. I don't think there is fan apathy. I think there's a realization on the part of the fans that they can't do anything about it. Sure. And that's simply because the sports organizations exclude the fans from decisions relating to the management and administration of sports.
And I think what SIGA have done has brought us all together from so many different sports, including governmental bodies, non-governmental bodies, industry, to work in partnership to defeat the corruptors who would eat at the very heart and the very substance of sport. So I think it's been a tremendous afternoon. I think it's a tremendous collection of professionals, all with one goal in mind, whatever the individual sport might be. In my case, it's cricket. But these corruptors don't confine themselves to one sport, so neither must we.
I think it's been great. I mean, coming from myself as president of the International Mixed Martial Arts, you know, we see SIGA as a great collaboration for us as a young sport in terms of developing. So the key element in terms of that is the integrity and you know, good governance and transparency. Those are the key messages that have kind of been sort of resonated around the room today. So for us, we see that as you know, our primary aim in terms of you know, spreading that word across our international federations and our national federations.
It is time for action, but we must be mindful that SIGA must be a bridge builder. It must reach out and work with all sports stakeholders, especially the Olympic movement. Sport can make a powerful difference. Sport can change the lives of young people, children. There are so many issues that we need to talk about, but time does not permit it. So I urge you all to continue to work with SIGA, but above all, walk your talk. Thank you very much.
I said this was the first of many forums because we are here to stay. And we mean business. Thank you very much to all of you and the tireless team of professionals who's behind the scenes, but without whom this would not have been possible. This belongs to all of us. Thank you very much, and let's meet again in a year.